This is the TerraMaster F4 SSD NAS. It's really small, it's really quiet, and it's really fast. I have covered a few NAS devices on the channel before. The network attached storage. There's been the Synology, of course. That was probably my first video on the channel, actually. There's the UNAS Pro, which I use all the time, when in fact the file that I'm recording right now will live as well. And I've got the Link Station, the Linksys as well. And now there's this, and this is a new first for me. This is an SSD NAS, so it runs M.2 SSDs. I'll show you that in just a second. It's tiny, it's really small, and it makes no noise. Like, you can probably hear the network devices behind me making more noise. This is just completely quiet. According to the specs, it runs at 19 decibels, which is, I think normal speech is like 50. So it is properly quiet. So the idea of this video is I'm gonna show you of course, the hardware, there's not much of it. I'm gonna show you a whole bunch of the features of what it does. I'm not gonna do any in-depth testing of it, because I just don't know enough about NAS devices to do that. But as a consumer, I'll give you what I like and what I don't like. Let's start with the hardware. All right, the hardware for this. It packs a fair punch despite being tiny, and I'm gonna read this out. I'll just go through some of the specs for us that I find interesting, and one that is a little bit odd. Yeah, it has an Intel N95 chip. I think that's pretty common for a lot of these sort of NAS devices. I'm pretty sure that the Link Station had the same chip from memory. It has a 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty decent for a NAS. It doesn't have to do too much, but you can upgrade it apparently to 32 gigs as well. So that's kind of nice if it is, struggling for whatever reason. And of course there is the party piece, which is the 4 M.2 SSD drive. So I'll just show you where they are. So you can take a little screw off here on the back here. It's really simple. And oops, got it. And you just sort of lift it out, and that's it. And there they are, 4 of them. Now I put 3 in. And I have chosen these, which is the crucial 1 terabyte drives. I've got 3 of those here, 1, 2, 3. These were recommended, or part of the recommended list that TerraMaster provides, so I got those. And the drives, by the way, for complete clarity, the devices provided for review by TerraMaster, and they also paid for the drives. So that's nice, because otherwise I'm reviewing stuff and it cost me hundreds of dollars in drives. So thank you, TerraMaster, for that. That does not influence my opinion though. So I got 3 of those. And they're here, 1, 2, 3. I can add a 4th one if I wanted to, but we'll get into how the RAID is set up when we go into the software as well. So yeah, really neat little device. There's a really big heatsink on here, which is nice, which obviously helps it being quiet, because the fans don't seem to run very often, and they're pointed down as well. So yeah, okay. And there's the RAM, by the way, that you can replace as well. So let me just put this back in here. Simple as that. And we'll put the screw back on. Now on the back here, we have a 10 gigabit USB-C plug. That's nice. We have 2 10 gigabit USB-A plugs. Also very nice. So obviously you can plug in things with USB and still get the speed. Then we have the LAN port, which is obviously how I've connected it. I have my testing cable right here. It goes up to my Pro XG switch. The LAN is 5 gigabit. And I'm not sure I understand that decision. Part of the appeal of this is, yes, it's quiet, it's small. It's SSDs, it's M.2, they're fast. Right? So why would you not put a 10 gigabit network connection in here? Because these drives support, as it says on the front here, 3,500 megabytes per second read. 5 gigabit is 675 megabytes per second. So we're not really taking advantage of the SSDs with that. Anyway, I think that's weird. That should have been a 10 gigabit, in my opinion. And then maybe charge $50 more for it. That's just what I think, because it's SSD, right? And then there's an HDMI port, so we can obviously plug a screen into it and see what's going on. And then there's a power supply, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And then there's a bunch of things here that I don't quite understand when it comes to specs. I did tell you that I'm not a NAS expert. I just am a consumer. But I think that's all you need to know about. So let's move on. All right, so just before we jump into the software side of the F4 SSD NAS, maybe now is a good time to subscribe to the channel. Yes, because about 80% of you watching are not subscribed. So I would love for you to join the community by hitting that red subscribe button down below, and who knows what might happen. You might get more knowledge, more videos, anything might happen, sort of. Anyway, I really enjoy it or appreciate it if you would join the community, or leave a comment or a thumbs up, or check out the merch, like the Spit Happens jumper. Yep, I made it. I designed it. Yep. Anyway, let's have a look at what is called TOS, the TerraMaster OS, I'm assuming. And currently we are at version 6. So this, I think, is relatively new. Maybe, I haven't actually checked that, but it's 6.0. And this, if you've used any kind of NAS, this is very familiar. The only one that looks very different to me is actually the Unified UNAS Pro, which is much more unified, obviously. But this looks similar to a Synology. I think this is probably what they got the inspiration from. Even the link station from Link Plus, which of course is running on RAID, was very similar. But yeah, it looks pretty standard to me, but this is what you get shown. There's a nice kitty cat there. And at the top here, we have this sort of menu bar. The first icon is just your account. There's me, Lars Clint. So when I set up the F4 SSD NAS, rolls right off the tongue, then I had to set up an account in order to log in. So now I have a TerraMaster account, which is pretty common. Nothing unusual about that. Here you can, search for an application, you can turn it off, etc. There are some applications here, and you can, of course, download more as well. We have the file server, file manager. There is backup here. I might just get back to backup a little bit later. I haven't set that up. I have moved one file here. As you can see, I have a 2 GB file just to make sure it worked. This is my G6 Bullet versus AI Pro video. Haven't seen that? Go check that out as well. And this is just a file manager for managing your files on the NAS, which is sort of the core part of it. So we have my shares, we have recent, we have a safe box. So this is an encrypted part of the NAS. As it says here, it's encrypted, data cannot be recovered, so you can set that up as well. And then I have my volume here with home and my home drive, which now has 2 terabytes of storage. This is the RAID that I've set up. We'll get to that in just a second as well. And you can, of course, also map this as a network drive, which I've done here. I'll show you. There is the same file, Unified G6 Bullet. This is on that IP address, .16, and I've had it as a T drive. So that works just fine with Samba and everything else like you would expect, which makes it much easier. Whether you're on Mac or Windows, it'll work just fine. So that's the file manager. Nothing unusual. That's pretty standard stuff. So I'll close that. Next, we have all applications. So I don't have a lot on here. This is what comes out the box, but you have the backup. We'll get back to that, and because there's a few things in there, the control panel, we'll get to that as well. The app center here is where you can download all the various apps, and like most NAS devices, you can run all sorts of things on here. So we have a Docker engine. We even have a Photos app, which is one of the things that TerraMaster is promoting because it has like AI algorithms to identify and categorize things. I may go down that route and use it for that. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm not going to go through that app in this video. There's the TerraSync client, which is very cool. We can actually turn it into private cloud storage. That's pretty neat. And of course, we have Plex and Jellyfin, so you can use it as a multimedia server as well. So there's a bunch of apps here. There's also a community store, community app here. Yep, we want to do that. We can see I've read the terms and conditions, confirm that. And that opens up a different browser window. And here are all of the community apps. How many? 151 apps. So there's more there as well if there's something specific you are looking for. Very good. So that's the app side of things. I'll get back to a couple of those in just a second. Here is the backup. Now the backup, they really like you to do backups. It's constantly reminding you to do backups. Just because you have a NAS drive, you have a network attached storage, and it's in a RAID, so you have multiple disks, it does not guarantee that you don't lose data, right? It's always better to have a backup. If you have a cloud provider like, well, I use OneDrive, or you might have Google Drive or Dropbox or whatever, you can set up automated backups to those services, and then you have a backup of your NAS in the cloud. Now you have to pay for the cloud storage, of course you do, but maybe that is worth it. So here is a proposed topology for a backup. You can see here we have CloudSync, which goes to the ones I just mentioned, or we can use TerraSync to go to a different machine, a different Terraform NAS or different server on your network. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do backup. This is not a video about backups, but I do recommend having backups for your things. So this goes through here. There's a whole lot of stuff about backups, and obviously I haven't gone through all of that. I've only just set up the NAS and used it for a little bit. Backups are there, and you can see it's a prominent featured icon on the menu as well. Settings, there are a bunch of settings, which is pretty neatly done actually. When I used Unraid, I know Unraid is a different kettle of fish. It is for a much more nerdy person, but it was a little bit confusing where everything is, I gotta admit. Maybe it went a little bit too Linux on me. Me being a Windows person, I kind of like this approach better. But you can go through users and shared folders and domains. You can set it up. They support sort of small business setups quite well with multiple users, and you can use it for backing up stuff and whatever. I'm not sure about enterprise. I haven't done anything with enterprise in terms of NAS, but maybe you can tell me in the comments. We have some network services. You can terminal into it. We're using SNMP, and what else is there? Remote access you can set up, and then we have, of course, the storage manager. Big part of NAS. So let me show you some of the bits here. But yeah, we have volume. So this is volume 1. 1.8 terabytes. So I put 3 1 terabyte drives in it, and it has set it up as a single 2 terabyte volume, right? So you can see here anything you've set up for it. Yeah, again, I don't know all the details of this. That's where you come in and you tell me if this is good or bad. My storage pool is just that one drive. I just set up one. There's just the one storage pool. You can see here there's the 3 drives. So the one storage pool with 1 volume on it. You could set up multiple volumes if you wanted to, of course. And here's volume 1, and it runs BTRFS, which I think is okay. Again, file systems is a bit of a jungle for me. When I set up the UNAS Pro, there was a lot of people that said, oh, it doesn't run ZF, something like that, ZFS. Yeah, anyway, you'll tell me, I'm sure, down in the comments. But you can change the file system on this to various, I'm not sure which ones, but you can change it. Then we can see the actual disks here. You see I have 3 1 terabyte disks, and they are all good. You can actually go to them here if you wanted to and see more details about each. There you go. A whole bunch of things about RAID, member lacking, blah, blah, blah. All the things you want to know about whether your disks are running normally, and if they're not, what might be the problem. We have a system disk, and that runs off the NVMe as well. Smart, I'm not sure what Smart is. Smart test function does not support M.2 drives. Okay, so this OS is obviously for other NAS devices as well that don't use M.2 but uses normal spinning hard drives, because it doesn't work on here. Okay, there's disk log, and there is Iron Wolf health management. Iron Wolf is Seagate, isn't it? Anyway, and that also doesn't do anything. Right, we can set up some virtual disk. I haven't done that. We can mount those. You can set up a USB device. So you can actually, essentially enable data backup between TNAS and USB storage devices. So you could plug it in with USB and either have it as another drive or do backup to it. So that's kind of neat. But you would have to install this app, USB Copy, which I do not want to do right now. Okay, that's good. And we can set up a hot spare. If you have critical files and you must at no point be in danger for losing them, you can set up a hot spare, as in if one of the drives fail, that spare immediately kicks in and gets put into circulation, copied to, and etc. I don't have enough for a hot spare because I have 3 already set up in a RAID, but you could add another one. There's a hypercache. I don't actually know what that is, if I'm honest. Maybe you can tell me. I don't. Oh, there's a little here. Unique SSD cache acceleration technology. Okay, that's why I haven't heard of it. It's a TerraMaster proprietary thing. I don't know anything about it. Not sure what it is. Any one of you have used it? Again, let me know in the comments. I'm more than keen to learn, and maybe you can share it with everybody else watching the video. And then there's some general settings, region, language, etc. These are just like the same control panel. If I go back here, this will be the same settings here. It just goes out into a menu on the side. Yep, just a UI decision. And some system info. We can see here, overview on it. Here, the load, I'm not doing anything with it right now, right? So it's hardly any load on it at all. And there we go. Resources, very good. Hardware, temperatures are good. All right, that looks about right. So that's all the settings. That's what I wanted to go through. Actually, there's still the port here. Again, this is, you can set up different ports for listening for different things, I believe. I don't know if you can change them. Oh, maybe you can't change them. Okay, so we just have some ports open on this device. All right. I thought you'd be able to change them, but okay. All right. And then we have services here, and you can see that I have Sandbase enabled, so I can mount it as a drive, but we could set up other services as well, NFS, FTP, SFTP, rsync, SSH, Telnet, etc. If you need those services, you can enable them in here. Very good. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you there. The store we've already been through, and of course there is Docker. This is a very common scenario for NAS devices to run other things in Docker. On my Synology, I am running a Pi-hole in a Docker container. I've also installed Plex. It's actually not running in a container. It's just running as an app on the Synology, but you could install it in a container as well. But it supports Docker as well. You need to install it. If I click on it, you will need to install the Docker Manager for using it. But yeah, that's probably one of the ways I'm going to go. One of the routes I'm going to go down using this, I would say. And then there's the support and help. Now, on the device itself, you probably saw the big yellow sticker on the side. TerraMaster is really going full in for support. So if you have any problems, they say contact us. We get back to you within 24 hours. I haven't had any problems. The only little weird thing I had was that when I first set it up, if I didn't use it, it would stop working after 20 minutes, or I couldn't connect to it after 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I enabled wake up on LAN, which is this sort of magic packet that it'll listen out for and wake up if that comes through on the LAN port, I think. And then it hasn't missed a beat since then. So yeah, enable wake on LAN if you need to use it. I think that makes sense. But yeah, support, you can click here, of course, and you can report issues, or you can get help for that. And apparently it's really good. It is one of the things they have put up on the list of priorities. So I think support is good. I haven't had to use it. So yeah. All right, let's do a bit of testing. All right, I'm gonna do a sort of a basic test just to see how fast we can get data onto the FS4. Now, this is connected via, a LAN cable to my XG Pro switch, 5 gigabit, and the computer or the laptop is connected to this Wavelink 5 gigabit to USB connector as well for LAN. So there's 5 gigabit directly through the switch. So we just want to see if we can get how fast we can go from this computer to this NAS as a basic test run. So on the screen here, I have a large file, which is my Unified Access Gate Kit video. So it is, how big is it? It is 3.2 gigabytes in size. So I'm going to try and copy that. So I'm going to drag that over to here. And this is the T drive, which is what we mapped the TerraMaster SSD NAS to. So I'm going to let go here and let's see how fast it goes. Here we go. We got 400 and 500 megabytes a second, roughly. Thereabouts. That's pretty good. I saw about 530 megabytes a second. So that to me is full speed. That's as fast as I expected it to be. So, 5 gigabit is about, divide by 8, you get about 600, and then there's a bit of, you lose a bit, whatever. So 500 megabytes a second is fast. Yes. Now, of course, my previous opinion still stands, right? Why not have 10 gigabit through to it? Because what if I had two things running at 5 gigabits into it? Anyway, that's a different matter. Maybe TerraMaster will come up with another version that has 10 gigabit as well. So that certainly works. I get full speed onto the SSDs, and that is about as fast as I expected. Yeah, so that's pretty good. let's cover some of the pros and cons, because there's a few either way. First of all, I love the size. It is tiny. Now you can have this next to your TV. You can have it, you know, in your living room. It really is that small that it doesn't intrude anywhere. It's tiny, right? That is really good. It is quiet. I love how quiet it is. You cannot hear it. It just makes no noise whatsoever, which is also why you can have it in your lounge room next to your TV if you wanted to. It has a 5 gigabit port, which is great. It is fast. It's a lot faster than 1 gigabit, that's for sure. But it's also a con, we'll get to that. It uses SSD. I think that's a pro. Yes, they're more expensive. Yes, you maybe not get as much storage, but it is a lot quicker. They're very fast, these SSDs, depending on which ones you get, obviously, but the ones I've got certainly seem to, as you saw, work just fine. I quite like the OS, the TOS. That's kind of my bag. If you're into Unraid or Linux, maybe it's not, but I quite like it, and it seems quite mature. Now, TerraMaster has been around for a long time, so they've had some time, obviously, to develop it, but it seems really good. And I love that there are so many backup solutions for it, and you can have like your encrypted part, the safe folder key, whatever they called it. There's some really good features on the OS as such. It has a fair number of applications. If you compare it to Synology, it's not as developed or as mature, but there's a lot of apps, and of course you can run your Plex or your Jellyfish or whatever, Jellyfin, on it as well. So there's a lot of options for what you can use it for. I only scratched the surface. I just showed you a tiny bit, right? In this review, there was not the point of going into the depth of it. And of course, it's relatively well priced. I think it's $399 on their website, and you can probably get a better deal somewhere else, I'd imagine. That's not terrible. It's not the cheapest NAS, but it's certainly not the most expensive by any stretch. Yeah. Now, the cons. Well, I gotta mention the SSDs, because it is a pro for me, but it could be a con because it is a lot more expensive per terabyte to get storage. It just is. It's a lot quicker, but it's also a lot more expensive. So that's probably one. That 5 gigabit port, I still don't understand it. I can't imagine there's much difference in cost of production between 5 gigabit and 10 gigabit. Why would you not just put a 10 gigabit in there when you have SSD speed? I don't get it, but okay. Certainly the 5 gigabit works, as we saw, but yeah, it should have been 10, in my opinion, especially because the other things, the USB-C and the USB-As, they're 10 gigabit. I'm not sure about the processor, that Intel processor, N97, whatever it's called. It may be a little bit entry level if you start putting lots of stuff on it to run, but you can upgrade the RAM, which is a big bonus. So I'm not sure about that. Maybe you can let me know down in the comments if that's fine. So far, I haven't had any issues, but I haven't put a lot of load on it either. So I think the pros outweighs the cons, in my opinion. I just wish it had 10 gig. Yeah. So that's it. Very general quick review of the F4 SSD NAS from TerraMaster. I've used it for about a week now. It's really good. That's all I can say. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Would you prefer an SSD NAS over a normal hard drive NAS with spinning disks? Or would you like the 5 gig or 10 gig port? Like, what would you use it for? Let me know, because there are so many options with these NAS devices and I'm still learning very much. But it is tiny. I like it. So thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video, do consider subscribing down below, because I'm going for 50,000 this year, 50,000 subscribers, and you could help. So I would love to have you part of the community. Also, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye. Delicious. I wonder what else we can hook up to it. 3 USBs. Could it run Home Assistant? I'm not sure. Maybe a llama counter. Nah.